So my study abroad experience definitely changed me a lot for the better and really did make me into a stronger person. I think one of the biggest ways that it did this was it really helped me to develop a lot more self-confidence. There were just so many things that happened abroad that I had to figure out on my own. There was no calling mom, there's like a 7-hour time difference. So you're on your own and there's a lot of things you have to figure out by yourself. And then there's also the weird things that you wouldn't expect to be hard but are, like grocery shopping and the currency change and figuring out the metro system. It's all stuff that I didn't really anticipate was going to be that hard. But once I got there, it definitely was a little bit harder than expected. And I think after living there for 4 months or so on my own, away from everything that was so familiar to me, it really did help me to develop so much more confidence in myself and in my abilities. And it definitely did help me to really acknowledge and hone in on all the self-reliant abilities that I had. So that definitely helped me to become a stronger person. And another change that I occurred throughout abroad was definitely just my perspective and outlook on life in general. I think that I really realized how short life was. When I was abroad, I only had about 4 months or so in Ireland, and there was just so many things I wanted to do and see, and there were so many things I wanted to do in other countries. And so I really, really tried to make the most of it, and I tried to take up every opportunity that I had to do everything possible. And so I think since coming home from abroad, I've definitely had that impression still linger in me that life is so short, and we need to take advantage of every moment possible. And there's just so much about this world that I had never known, and that it's just so vast and huge and big. And it definitely made me realize and made me so much more grateful for the life that I have, and also just for the experiences that I had abroad and the fact that I was able to do all the traveling and everything that I did. And it really also made me recognize how important understanding other people's culture and ideals are. There was so much that I learned from talking to locals from Ireland and all the countries that I visited. And it's crazy for me because I did not grow up in a super diverse area. So just learning about other people's cultures and ideals and how they grew up and how they live was very eye-opening to me. And it really did help me to kind of broaden my perspective on life in general. And so what would I tell a student who is still deciding whether they should go abroad? So I definitely think, and I recognize that abroad is not for everybody, and that there's definitely a lot of factors to go into abroad. But I think that if you are in the position to go abroad, and if you are thinking about it, and if you are able to do it financially, and if your academic schedule allows it, I definitely think go for it. I know that it is kind of scary. I definitely was scared of going abroad before it happened, but I think that it is such a once in a lifetime opportunity, and not very many people can say that they've lived in another country for so long. And it truly is such a learning experience. I learned so much inside the classroom and outside the classroom. Like, I took an Irish folklore class, which I learned so much about Ireland, and it was such interesting material. But then yet again, I learned so much about Ireland from just talking to people at a coffee shop, or just the random encounters that I had talking to people. It really is such a learning experience. And I think if you're thinking about it, try not to let the fears get you down. There definitely is so much to gain out of going abroad. So I definitely think it's worthwhile. And a myth about study abroad that kind of surprised me. So before studying abroad, I think one of the biggest myths I had in the back of my head was just that I was going to miss out on a lot that was happening back at BC. And I almost didn't go abroad because of this reason. A lot of my friends were either going abroad in the spring or weren't going abroad at all. So I knew that I was going to be missing out on a lot of stuff back at BC. But super happy that I went abroad because, after the first initial couple weeks of me feeling homesick and scared and missing home in BC, life picked up so quickly and I had such a blast abroad. And I honestly, time would not slow down abroad, that I barely had any time to think about what was going on at BC. And it was less of what am I missing out on at BC and more like what is everyone else missing out on who didn't go abroad. So my perspective definitely changed. And of course I missed people at BC and I missed BC in general. But I definitely had a time in my life abroad, and I definitely think that, feeling like you're going to miss out on things back at BC shouldn't be a reason to not go abroad because there's so much to gain.